All right, hello tea family. Welcome to the replay and welcome to us live. If you're here live, please say hello in the chat or comments and let us know what you're drinking tonight. I do want to start by saying don't throw away your tea leaves. It's almost March, and if you're brewing like it's midwinter, you're going to be missing out on some of the best flavors of the year. Also, those tea leaves, they are going to be invaluable. If you stay to the end of the video, you will find out why those tea leaves might make your garden better. Okay, so our handy dandy assistant is here with Highland Dawn. Excuse me, but we're going to get started. We're going to do something a little different tonight when we talk about our tea and we make the tea, but I'm going to hold on to that for a little bit. The other thing I have to say, excuse me, I have Highland Dawn in this cup, but I'm going to be making something a little bit different tonight. So, all right, I have questions to answer tonight, and then please, any questions that you have, please put them in the chat or the comments. I love being able to answer your questions. And then we are going to go ahead and get started. All right. So one of the questions I had is, I don't know about where you all are, but we had some fall spring in there where we almost hit 80 degrees. Or did we hit 80? I think we came pretty close to hitting 80 degrees. And we were in the 70s for a couple of days here. And so we have that false spring where everybody's like, oh, I know it's February, but it really feels like it's springtime. And so you start thinking about springtime teas and ways to brew in the spring. And one of them is the cold brew. So can I brew cold brew tea yet? Is the question that I received. And I'm going to say, yes, you can enjoy a cold brew tea at any point in time. I know people typically start to think about this in the spring and in the summer, but you can go ahead and you can enjoy that cold brew tea any time of the year. Just go ahead, put your tea leaves in the cold water, put it in your fridge. Typically, if you're going to do a cold brew, I always suggest you do it overnight. And so you would put the tea in the water in the evening, put it in the fridge overnight, because you want to leave it in there for about 8 hours. Now, we've done counter tea a few times for events, and we're not looking for a cold brew officially. We're looking for like kind of a sun tea without the sun, or a moon tea. And those don't have to brew so long. Those are 2 to 3 hours depending. But I do want to say, I see Diane is enjoying some Irish sunrise. That's awesome. But I do want to say it is not too early. It is never the wrong season. If you love cold brew tea, then go for it. Keep in mind that when you do cold brew tea, you do have to infuse it longer, and the flavor is going to be a little bit different. The reason for that is the temperature is different, so the reaction between the tea and the water, it takes longer to infuse, and so you want to give it that extra time. All right. So the other thing is, keep in mind that March is full of humidity. It typically is when humidity starts to crank up. Now, I know there's certain regions of the country where it's humid all the time, but typically March is really where it's one of the bad months for humidity and when it really starts to amp up. Now, if you are enjoying that weather, I know those in New England, like Diane, are ready for some spring weather. They're ready to not see some snowfall. Y'all have gotten a lot up there, but keep in mind that if your used bag of tea, and I have one right here. So our tea pouches, no windows, obviously because of light, but you see how it takes me a minute to open, and you see how it has the zipper right here. The reason why we like that is because I can squeeze out that extra air and then really hear and feel that it's sealing very, very well. All right. Kim has hearth fire tonight. You know, I thought about that. That almost was what I drank, Kim. You and I are thinking similarly tonight. But anyway, I want to emphasize, if you are not sure if your pouch, for whatever reason, every once in a while I get one of those Ziploc bags, and for the life of me, I cannot get it to seal really, really well. And we don't pay the extra money to get the fancy zipper top ones. And so uh there we go. If this zipper lock in the pouch ever stopped working, I'm going to say a dark colored glass jar, a mason jar that you keep uh closed in the cabinet or in the dark, is going to be your best way to go to preserve it, especially since humidity levels increase in March, and we don't want to do that. And we're right at the end of February, beginning of March, so we're kind of geared towards that fake spring, early spring. I know Diane just said she's still bracing for the nor'easter. I've been watching that blizzard warnings going all the way up into Boston area. We have quite a few members of our tea family up in that region. So I just want y'all to please be safe, stay warm, enjoy some hot tea, and just stay safe. So hearth fire went well with tater tot casserole at lunch. So I'm on my second brew now. See, once you find those wonderful combinations, you can go back to them. I love that. I love that. I also am kind of envious of the fact that you had some tater tot casserole for lunch. I haven't had that in a really long time. We have to put that on the menu, handy dandy assistant. Can you make that happen? Maybe. So that is one of the questions that we had. And I always want to say, if your bag does not zip perfectly, then it's time to move it to a jar or a container that you can get a complete air seal on end. So remember, a lot of people around this year, I had a lot of questions about green tea. For whatever reason, when we move into the January and February, people are very health conscious, or they're wanting something lighter after the holiday season. So we had a lot of questions about green tea. Remember, green tea, we want to brew around 175 to 180. Otherwise, it could become bitter because it becomes burnt. And okay. So I always want to, if you don't have, okay, handy dandy trick is, if you do not have a thermometer, or if you do not have a tea kettle, electric tea kettle that kind of that takes care of the temperature for you, a good rule of thumb for a green tea is boil your water, shut it down, walk away for 2 minutes, and then come back, and the water should be about right. It depends, there's always going to be little things, how insulated is your kettle and that sort of thing. But roughly, if you wait about 2 minutes, you should be good to go. Always want to make sure for the people that just have like a traditional kettle, or they're at work or something else, that you're all set. Okay. So one of the other things is that end of February and March, really people start thinking about spring. I know I love spring. I love snow too. I didn't love the snow so much yesterday. It was not my favorite experience with snow. However, as we're kind of moving towards that spring time frame, one of the big things to keep in mind are jasmine green teas. These are really perfect for this time of year. So we're talking about Ancient Green Dragon, we're talking about Emerald Garden, and we're talking about Winter's Kiss. Those are 3 of our blends that have that jasmine green tea in it. It is hearty enough to kind of still meet with the winter, but also light enough, very springtime flavoring. The other thing I want to talk to you about, and this is one I think I've been feeding Diane's tea blends for a minute here, but Rich and I, at one point when we were living in Georgia or South Carolina, I don't know, I don't remember which duty station we were at. It was either Georgia or South Carolina, and we were able to have a weekend and go to the first Flush Festival at the Charleston Tea Plantation. Now that is we were living in South Carolina. We were at Jackson. Okay. So we were stationed at Fort Jackson at the time, and we went to Charleston, South Carolina. Yes. Charleston, South Carolina. And we went to the first Flush Festival. Now that is now owned by Bigelow, but it is the only commercial tea plantation in the US. It was an incredible tour. If you ever have the opportunity, you're in the Southeast, I encourage you to take the day and go. The only problem is you have to kind of play the weekend by ear. We got VIP tickets. This is long before we had the business. We paid for the VIP ticket, so we got special tours and different things like that. And it was really fun to see how they had taken some of the plants, the community synesis, and they had grafted certain teas together so that they would grow together, so that they would already kind of have their blend of teas, and customized it. And then to see the machinery they used to pick the leaves. And then there was this incredible Darjeeling first flush tea everywhere. Now they had brewed it hot and then put it over ice, but it was super hot at that point. But that typically happens in the March-ish time frame. Now that first flush, that first cutting of Darjeeling teas especially, is considered like the champagne of tea. And I have to say, even though it was more of a commercial blend, it really was incredible. And they did it all loose leaf, so it wasn't the bagged dust stuff. We actually got to go on some of the tours and see how they processed and oxidized the tea. It was incredible. I would go back again in a heartbeat. But Kim, she loves Carlston, but she's never done a tea tour. Yeah, if you could plan it, maybe sometime when you don't have little ones attending school in the house, if you could plan it around, they can generally tell you within a week or so when the first Flush Festival is. It is an incredible thing to attend. Our children were little. I mean, they were little to the point of, I think our RJ was still like whining about having to walk so much. But they had the tea everywhere. It was just all you could drink. But it was really incredible. We learned a lot. It was fun. So yes, Kim, if you could arrange that on one of your trips, there would be plenty of hiking and walking that day, so you would be good to go. But also you get to drink tea all day. Okay, but the other time for Darjeeling is the autumnal or the autumn flush, and that has a deeper note to it. And I know that Diane likes that one because I've been playing around with a autumn Darjeeling tea blend. I did send a sample to Diane one time, but that is one of the ones that we are working on because it is just a nice, slightly stronger, not quite as light as the spring one. So keep in mind that, let's see, I have all my notes typed and I'm trying to remember them all now. One of the things that you also get along this time is a lot of the white teas, because they're not going to be processed. They're the least processed one. And I want you to know that one of the reasons why we like the specialty white tea blends having white tea in them, it's a slightly more expensive, well, it's actually quite a bit more expensive tea leaf, but they are really high in L-theanine, and so it gives you kind of that calm focus, no jitters, really, really healthy, packed with antioxidants, because it is not Kim, I understand. I love the white teas too, but they are so much pricier and they are harder to get in bulk, which is one of the reasons why they have to be kind of our specialty teas, limited edition teas, things like that. But all right, so as the rainy days come, I know Diane is still facing the snowy days, and I feel like we'll probably have more snow here in Kansas too. This is the time of year when somebody said, what would you drink on a snowy or winter day? Well, I, of course, love Green Sunrise and Highland Dawn and many other flavors, but I would say like milk tea with oolong in it would be really nice. Now, keep in mind, oolong can go into the smoky end, but it can also be more of a delicate end, depending on which blend or when that tea leaf is harvested. I know. I think Kim's more sad about the fact that they're limited edition ones, and so she can't get them all the time, which is why she's like, that makes her sad because she wants to be able to. We all do. We all want to be able to drink what we want, kind of when we get the flavor for it. But so the white teas are really great springtime, especially as people start to get things like allergies. They're really high in antioxidants, and so they're really beneficial when you're fighting the allergies and not feeling 100%. And because they're the least oxidized, the least processed, you're getting more of those natural nutrients. Okay, so that actually leads into one of our questions, but I am going to pause for a second. I'm trying to balance 15 things all here at the same time. There we go. All right. Snowstorm equals Highland Dawn. So again, I would say that's when you pull out the chai, you make a chai latte, a serene sunrise latte. That's even when I would actually pull out the cuddle in a cup. I would do that chocolate tea latte and just sit and watch the snow now that I don't always have to go out in it. I get to sit and enjoy a little bit more. Okay. I don't want to drive in it right now. Again, had a harrowing experience yesterday, so trying to avoid that for a little while. All right, so we are going to experiment today. So one of the things about spring, I've already started to hear from some of my fruit suppliers for things like strawberries, because this is generally the March timeframe is when you start to get strawberries coming up fresh. This is their season. We start to move into some of those spring and early summer fruits. So, Diane, although Tiger Eye Chai is calling from the cabinet. Well, I'm glad you're enjoying that one. That was a fun one to make. See, and you can make a latte with that, Diane. You'd be all set. Oh my goodness. All right, so what I thought I would do is, as you can see, we opened up this packet. I think we were at an event and we have little sniffers at our event so people can smell the teas, because we'll typically bring 5 or 6 different teas for them to taste. But sometimes you want to know what something else is going to taste like. And so the closest we can get, other than my handy dandy assistant crying and throwing a temper tantrum, if me trying to bring 16 or 18 different tea flavors with us that are already pre-brewed. So we have these little sniffers. And I think we test them every once in a while because they keep, remember I said air is not your friend to tea. The aroma starts to dissipate. And so every once in a while we'll pop one of these open and we're like, oh, it doesn't really smell like anything. So we obviously did that with Highland Dawn. And so I'm going to use this. But then I was just talking about strawberries for a reason. And now I'm trying to find where that little container is under my monitor. Yep, I can't see. Oh, that's the one I want right there. There you go. So I'm talking about strawberries, and I wanted to add a little fruit to it. So I'm going to talk about that. And a lot of times we'll do custom teas and we'll do different creations, and sometimes we even make a tea together. But this time I thought, what if I added just a little bit of the sweetness of strawberries, because I just heard from the farm that we get our strawberries from that they're almost ready for more strawberries. And so I've got what we freeze dried last year, I can really start to use a little more up because we'll have new ones coming in and freeze drying them for this season. So I'm going to take some strawberries that you can see right here, right? And I didn't want to have to bring a knife and a cutting board and 15 other things. And this is just a tea for me tonight. So I'm going to actually just kind of break this up a little bit. You know what? The spoon is, I'm just going to break it apart with my fingers because I'm the only one drinking this. I'm really careful. We're really careful to wear gloves and all that kind of stuff when we're making teas for everybody else. But when it's just for us, hands work. All right. So I don't want to use a lot. So one of the things is this is probably only about 1 strawberry slice, maybe 1.5 strawberry slices after it's freeze dried. So I'm not actually adding a lot of strawberries to it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, and I'm going to add some Highland Dawn, and I'm going to add a little strawberry to it to see what the flavor is like. And don't be afraid to take some fruit or to take something and play with it a little bit. No, we're not experimenting with pickles and tea. All right, so I have a little less than a traditional spoon of my Highland Dawn. And let me show that to you here. We'll do it like this so you can see it easier. There's our Highland Dawn. Really nice, has that slightly sweet aroma, which I think is going to pair really well with the strawberries. And then I'm going to add these strawberries that had been freeze dried. Now this is primarily a black tea. So we're gonna, this water boiled. We're gonna add it in there. And if my handy dandy assistant will give me 3 minutes on the clock. Okay. Then we are good to go. But I wanted to try and do something a little different. Encourage you to mix and match a little bit, add an ingredient, add a fruit in there. It's okay to try something different. Now, one of the questions we received was, what's the actual difference between teas and the coloring, and how can I remember which one is which? And so for the premise of this answer, I'm going to say pretend an apple is the tea. Okay, we're going to think like an apple. For your white tea, you're going to have just the apple. Nothing's happened to it. Boom, nothing. It is just there. Okay, so you've got your whole apple just kind of sitting there. Okay, for your green tea, this is the very fresh cut apple. It hasn't been oxidized. It's still really white. There's probably some juice in it, but it's very fresh. But it is unlike the white tea. This has been processed slightly because you've cut it. Then for oolong tea, I want you to think about that same apple that you cut that's been sitting on the counter for maybe an hour. It's partially oxidized. You've got a little bit of brown. You still see some white. It's not quite as juicy in there, but it's, it's still going to taste really, really good, but it's starting to brown. That is what an oolong tea is. It is partially oxidated, halfway between that green tea and the black tea where we would go next. Now, the black tea is if we cut that apple up first thing in the morning, and then we got totally distracted by our day, left it out on the counter, forgot about it, went to work, went out to do whatever we were going to do, came back after supper or before bedtime, and you're like, oh my goodness, this apple has been sitting out all day long. It's going to be brown. It's not going to be as juicy. That is going to be kind of what we consider fully oxidized. It's completely brown. Could you still eat it? Yes. It's just oxidized. It hasn't really hurt the flavor. It's brought out different flavors. You're going to have, it's going to taste slightly different than if you had it when it was fresh first thing. Okay. And then herbal teas or herbal tisanes, these don't have any apple in them. These are going to be our oranges, our pears, our plums, nuts, berries, everything else except the tea. They can still be utterly delicious. They can be a whole bunch of different combinations. Primarily, they typically are caffeine free unless you use an ingredient that has caffeine in it. However, okay, that's 3 minutes. Perfect. That is what an herbal tisane is. So if you think of it like that, that helps you kind of on your spectrum. If you think about it like an apple, that was one of the questions we had, and I thought I would try and describe it a different way. Okay, it smells really good. It smells really, I have pungent strawberry and then a little bit of the tea behind it. And then when I move to the cup, they're about equal, tea and strawberry. So there, that's what it looks like. Quite filling right now. I mean, it smells really good. It doesn't smell overpoweringly strawberry. Like I said, it's about a 50-50 blend of the sweeter black tea blend from the Highland Dawn. Go ahead and try it. Oh, wow. Oh, I really like that one. Okay. So you have the first flavor on the tongue is definitely Highland Dawn. It's a very smooth flavor. And then it's immediately softened with a strawberry finish. Not overpoweringly, but just a nice strawberry finish. They balance well, really. That one's really good. We may have to make some of this. Just saying. And it makes a really pretty color as well. There you go. Kind of a traditional black tea blend color. That dropped on the tray and not my desk. Okay. All right. The other question that we received, and remember, please put questions or comments or anything in the chat or comments. Someone was really starting to struggle with seasonal allergies. I get that. After having that false spring here in Kansas and then coming into the winter, a lot of people are starting, things are starting to bud and bloom, and therefore allergy season. Things that I would recommend: green mint. That would be one of my big recommendations. The peppermint is going to have a menthol in it, which typically is a natural decongestant. I will say I'm not a professional. This is not professional advice. Ask Google for confirmation. But generally speaking, when one researches peppermint, you would see that a lot of people list it as a natural decongestant. And then the green tea typically has the compounds that benefit when your body is dealing with pollen. And when you have those two together, it really does a great job of helping with symptoms. Now, a lot of people ask about honey. If you're going to do honey, please make sure it is raw honey, as unprocessed as possible, and as local as possible. I know our honey people are right here. They are within 20 miles of where I live. Therefore, and bees travel for miles when they're getting their flowers and things. So I know that is very local honey, local honey pollen even. That is all really beneficial. If I took my honey and I shipped it to Diane in New England, that's great. And she would enjoy some delicious honey. But it wouldn't have the same benefits as a local honey near her. Likewise, if she sent me some honey, it's not going to have as much of the same benefits. There is something about the local honey that it picks up kind of the local pollen and the local flora and fauna, and that helps with the allergies. I do know that having bee pollen or using the local honey helps Rich tremendously when allergy season starts. You'll start to take a lot of he'll start to use that to try and start it as opposed to going right to the medicine. Let's see. So that would be the one that I would recommend. Another good one. Okay, Diane, I like doing half green mint and half lemon zinger. Well, Diane, thank you. You know what? You can jump on here and present, because I was just about to say the other one I would use would be a lemon zinger. The citrus is going to help cut. The ginger is really good for a lot of allergy kind of release too. And so a half green mint, half lemon zinger together would be perfect. The other one for the benefits for ginger, if you're not a huge citrus person or maybe you're allergic to citrus, are citric acid, which I have a couple of both friends that both are, and I would say then you could go into the Sunlit Orchard, caffeine free. It's an apple ginger vanilla blend, and so that would be really beneficial as well. That would be one you could go to because the ginger also has a lot of great benefits. So there you go. You could do a half green mint, half Sunlit Orchard for that. So you'd have apple, ginger, primary flavors of apple, ginger, the green tea, the peppermint, and a little bit of vanilla. So that would be another one to do. Let's see. I had someone saying that they're trying to eat with local honey. See, Diane, definitely with local honey. I had another question come in, and they said what teas they're typically eating lighter as spring and summer the weather gets nicer. They eat outside. They eat a lot lighter foods in those seasons. You know, what teas should they be pairing? We've talked a lot about the green teas and the white teas. I would also say it depends on what you're serving with it. So if you're doing some more of what used to be considered a continental breakfast or a European breakfast, where you might just have a pastry and they would have like coffee in Italy or an espresso or cappuccino in Italy. You, for your pastry and your fruit, you might want to go with an Earl's blend or a London fog latte, Earl's Lady, and then with a hint of lavender added in, and then make that into a latte. That would be one way to go. That's going to be lighter. You're still going to get that extra caffeine, but it would be fit with the fruit and the pastries. If you are talking fish or pasta or a lighter meal like a salad, this is where I'm going to say Emerald Garden or a green tea blend that we've kind of talked about. Even ones that have like kind of a sencha green tea in them would be really, really good. You wouldn't have to just stick to the jasmine green. The other thing is, I want to say, if you're just starting out with green teas, and I know we talk to a lot of people and they're like, I don't really like green tea. In fact, I had one person on Valentine's Day when I brought tea in to the Bible study, and one of the ladies was like, I'm going to try the Winter's Kiss, but I'm not really one that likes green tea. I keep trying it. And then she ended up liking it, which made me happy, but it was more the fact that so many people, their green teas that they choose have that bite to them, and there's nothing to soften. So think in terms of like the Ancient Green Dragon, the vanilla jasmine. That vanilla is going to kind of soften and sweeten, and the jasmine green tea is sweeter anyway. Then think about things like that as opposed to trying potentially a lemon zinger, unless you love lemon. If you love lemon or you love ginger, then that would be the way to go. So think of your softer, lighter Emerald Garden, where you don't have that bitter aftertaste. Ancient Green Dragon, Winter's Kiss, anything that kind of has those kind of lighter fruit notes. But that's one of the things that I would always recommend. Okay, do we see any questions coming in, Handy Dandy Assistant? All right, I do have a couple of things that I do need to see. Everything's happening. All right. I do want to remind everybody that this Friday, the 27th, we are having our Beat the Winter Blues live tea party and live sale. There are going to be giveaways. There are going to be 2 special tea blends that are going to be event only. And I have been already starting to put together different tea packages and different things that typically aren't available at any other time. And I'm chasing some stuff up, so you'll see some definitely new things there. But that is this Friday at 7 p.m. Central Time. And then next Sunday is March 1st. And on March 1st, Irish Sunrise becomes available to everyone. Right now, it's a VIP only blend. So VIPs, check your email. If you didn't see, you can get it early. As a thank you for being a VIP, and it will be available to everybody for the month of March, starting on March 1st. So that starts next Sunday. Now, I did talk about I do need to travel for work or a task force that I'm on to facilitate a training next Sunday. I am going to have a video. It's just not going to be live. I'm going to pre-tape it and I'm going to set it to premiere or go live on. I'm going to do that. It's not going to be as long because I won't be chatting back and forth with you, but I am going to have something out there just so that people, we so many times tell people, hey, we go live at 6 p.m. on Sundays, and then I don't want nothing to go up. So that one will be pre-recorded. It will be shorter, but I will be doing something special for that one to make up for it. But I will be literally facilitating at the exact same time that my live would be. And I would normally say, oh, well, let's just do 6:30 or 7. But it starts at 3. The class starts at 3. And I probably won't be done till 7:30. And then I'm really going to want to eat some supper and probably go to bed because you all know I get up super early in the morning. So next Sunday, that's what we're doing. Anybody else have any other questions? If not, I would say feel free to try this. Really, really yummy. It was probably about 2.2 grams of the Highland Dawn and about 0.2 to 0.3 grams of the freeze-dried strawberries. So FYI, try that one. All right. Giving you a chance to go ahead and put any last minute comments or questions. I am just, there we go. Lost my mouse, not been my weekend, people. I am right. I don't know about you all, but I'm looking forward to Monday because it has not been a good weekend for me. So, all right. It doesn't look like we have any other questions. So I'm going to say, have a great weekend. Be good and stay safe. We'll see y'all later.